Hello, hello. Welcome back to Independent Learning. Hope everybody has a good week this upcoming week. And yeah, kind of getting a late start to this episode. I was up last night watching the UFC. Pereira, if you're listening to this in the future, I hope Pereira's still the champ. He beat the fuck out of Khalil Roundtree. I mean, Khalil Roundtree. Like I said, it's early. Normally, I can't talk. When I'm tired, I definitely can't talk. But either way, Peloton, I mean, there was blood everywhere. That shit was a massacre. Um, he could have killed him anytime during that whole fight. Um, but anyway, yeah, today's episode is a special episode, an episode by special request for um my boy. I won't say his name. I'm sure he doesn't want to be aired out on a podcast of this, caliber of this social standing. But yeah, it's an episode by special request. If you are listening to this and you have a special request, you can hit me up. I don't know why I can't say my R's right now. I sound like like a cutie patootie. I sound like a kid with a propeller head on. I can't say my R's right now. Fortunately, I'm not going to need a ton of R's for this one. Because this episode is a double feature. It's Joaquin Phoenix and Johnny Cash. And I named this episode Walk the Line, but it's the first part of Joaquin Phoenix's name. So it's Joaq, The Line. And that's also the name of the movie that Joaquin Phoenix starred in about Johnny Cash, if you don't know. And I looked it up. I don't think anyone else had this idea. Or maybe it's just that dumb of an idea that people had it and they're like, dude, that's retarded. We're not going to put that out. But I had it and I was like, dude, at least for this, I feel like it's a pretty decent idea. Like, this isn't like, it's not like it's a professional fucking article or like a professional interview or anything. It's me in my closet with a broken headset just rambling about the dumbest shit ever. Um, but I mean, not the dumbest shit ever. I'm dumb. And so it makes everything I talk about sound just as dumb and as irrelevant. Um, so I think I'm trying to think of anything else I have to say. Oh, yeah, fucking, I complete this shit's so hard. Your mind just goes blank because you just have to talk and talk and like try not to leave any empty space. But an important announcement, or maybe not important because it might not end up happening. But I've been thinking about doing like a mini episode on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or sometime during the week. Probably just some random time during the week whenever I have time. That's just like one page of notes because I'm trying to get better at talking, obviously, or not talk. I mean, talking in general, but like definitely in the world of podcasting because I'm just not very good at it, obviously, and I didn't think I was going to be good at it, but you know, you got to try to improve always. Um, and I feel like that would help me improve quicker just to have like a page of notes and have to like freestyle a bunch of talking. Like even if the episode isn't good, it will force me to improve. So yeah, I'm thinking I'll do something like that. It will be as unlistenable as these are. It will be 10 times more unlistenable because it's just gonna be me. Like I'm gonna have like bullet points, like real bullet points, not like these bullet points. Like these are like this is a script basically, but I'm just gonna have like loose bullet points, and I'm gonna try to like explain things and just talk, um, and try to be marginally funny, which is hard. I feel like I don't know. I don't know what I feel like, but I would like this to be a little more lighthearted, a little more funny, and not just me like reading off a script and then like rambling and stumbling over my words. So I'm gonna maybe do that every once in a while as practice, and they'll be shorter episodes. I don't know what I'll call them. I was trying to think of a special name, like the mini-sode, because I'm in Minnesota right now. I'll call it the mini-sode, something like that. But yeah, as for intros, I think that's it. I had a busy week last week, so This was all done yesterday, like I said. But I think they're pretty good notes. Johnny Cash's life is way more interesting than I originally thought. So it's super detailed, and then we kind of have a lightning round about Johnny Cash's life. And then Joaquin Phoenix, still an interesting life, but dude, like Johnny Cash was like Gump, basically. You know what I mean? He was everywhere. But it'll be a fairly long episode. I feel like I have like 4.5 pages, which is I think the Rhodesian Bush War was 5 pages, if I remember. Um, so yeah, next week I think I'm gonna do the Gallic Wars, which was the wars between the Romans and the barbarians. Um, we got a few special characters in that one that you might know, real famous guys. But and that'll be for the regular episode, not for the mini episode. For the mini episode, I don't know. I was thinking about doing like cloud wrap because I mean it's been one day below 50 degrees and I'm depressed as hell, dude. You guys know how it is. That seasonal depression hits hard. Um, yeah, I started listening to Young Lean and shit, dude. I already wear all black all the time just because, like, I'm autistic and that's my uniform. But, like, Young Lean on top of that, dude, I might be the most depressed man in the state of Minnesota right now. For no reason at all. My life is perfectly fine. It's just the cold weather hits. And I'm not eating as much. Dude, not eating sucks. I swear to God, if you don't have carbs in your system 24/7, you are suicidal, dude. It is the worst. Um, but anyway, no, it's not the worst. It's just like mentally, you have no fuel, and so your brain's like, "Fuck it, we're not gonna bother thinking about anything," and so you just kind of feel depressed. Um, but yeah, that's enough of my rambling. That was a long ass intro, probably the longest one so far. Probably our longest episode so far. Um, But yeah, let's get into it. So it's a double feature. We're gonna start by talking about Johnny Cash. Then we're gonna talk about Joaquin Phoenix. Then we're gonna talk about Joaquin Phoenix's acting style, and then we're gonna talk about Walk the Line a little bit, but there's not too much to talk about. Um, I'm not gonna go over like a plot synopsis and stuff, but I'm just gonna talk a little bit about uh, Johnny Cash and really not just Johnny Cash's role in the making of the film. But yeah, let's get into it. So we start with Johnny Cash's early life. He was born in Arkansas in 1932. He was the middle child of seven. Um, he had a brother, Tommy, who went on to become a country singer as well. He went by JR as a child, Johnny Ray, because his parents couldn't decide on a name, which is so funny. Um, just to do that to your kid, that's like a very white trash thing, being like, we can't decide on a name, so you got two names now. All right, you're Johnny Ray, which is a very white trash name. He had a pretty white trash upbringing. As we'll see here, he grew up picking cotton from the age of 5 during the Great Depression. This inspired many of his songs. So I say that's a point for the whites, dude. Picking cotton at the age of 5, point whites, all right. But it was somehow part of like the Great New Deal with well, FDR. I almost said RFK. RFK's Green New Deal. What would that be? What would that look like? Him fucking eating bugs and shit. That guy's a freak. I mean, I guess if your whole family was killed by the CIA and you were a heroin addict, you'd be a freak too. But whatever. Yeah. So his parents basically like got a farm uh, as part of like the Great New Deal, which was like this series of like policies and like new government agencies and stuff set up by FDR to help America recover after the Great Depression. But so they got it, but it eventually got wiped out by a flood, which inspired one of Johnny's songs, 5 Feet High and Rising, I think is what it's called. I didn't write it down because my hand was already hurting by this point, and we're not even a quarter of a page in. So yeah. Uh, so Johnny Cash's brother, if you've seen the movie Walk the Line, you know that Johnny Cash's brother dies when he's 12 years old. But do you know how he died? Because I know I do, and you are too, or you're about to know. He was cut in half by a table saw, which is so fucking crazy. Or he was nearly cut in half. There was like a flap of skin connecting the two halves of his body, and he survived a week like that. Which, first of all, dog, dude, a week like that. I don't know how he did it. Uh, I also don't know where he got cut in half, but I'm imagining somewhere around like the intestines and stuff. Like you can't. He was probably like in a coma or something, but still surviving a week like that. What an animal! That's a beast. Now you can see where Johnny Cash got his work ethic from. He's like, "Fuck, my brother survived a week with half a body." You know what I mean? Like fucking, I can sing as many songs as I need to get successful. But anyway, um, I couldn't find anything. I think in the movie, his mom like says that it should have been Johnny that died. I don't know if that's true. It could be, but I mean, all movies have a little embellishment. As gumpy, you know, as Johnny Cash's life was, it wasn't. You know, no one's life is that interesting. At least to most people. I'm sure if you're a Johnny Cash fan, no matter what, you would have been excited. But he listened to a lot of gospel music growing up and was also inspired by traditional Irish music. So he originally tried to be a gospel singer, as we'll talk about later. And he began playing and writing songs at the age of 12. So he's been writing and playing music since he was a little kid. Um, Listening to it his whole life, like most of us. But yeah, that's kind of Johnny Cash's early life. All the important shit, at least. You know, get an idea of who this guy is, or like why he ended up the way he did. But anyway, we're on to the military career. So he joined the Air Force in 1950 after graduating high school, and a few months after the start of the Korean War. He received training in Texas, in a few places in Texas. You know, there's like boot camp and then there's specialized training. He did it all in various bases in Texas. But he met a girl there named Vivian Liberto. Uh, when he was deployed, it was said that they exchanged thousands of letters. Okay, so he was deployed he joined in 1950 and he was deployed until 1954. All right. So I'll give him 4 years. I gave him 4 full years when I did the calculations. You know, I plugged one thing into a calculator. That's what I mean by calculations. But I mean, that is a calculation, just not calculations. But anyway, that's 1,460 days. You can't exchange thousands of letters in that time unless you're sending multiple letters a day for some reason, which doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any sense to do that because it's going to take more than a day to get there. So you know what I mean? Just send one letter a day, if that. And it's like you're sending more than one letter a day. I guess they could have been like a stagger thing, whereas like even though it was delayed a week because he was sending a letter every day, she had a letter every day to respond to. But even then, a letter every day is only. I guess if they're counting letters from between both of them, we're talking 2,800, but they would have to be sending a letter every day. You know what I mean? So maybe not thousands, like I said. His life was gump, but I don't think it was that gump to where he had a lady he was sending a letter to every day. But he did work in a communications type thing, so maybe it was just easier for him to do it than most other soldiers. But anyway, he was assigned to the 12th Radio Squadron Mobile. That's what it's called. I don't. And was sent to serve in Landsberg, West Germany, where he was a Morse code interpreter. So he intercepted Soviet Army messages. And I don't know if he decoded them. I don't imagine he did, but he just translated them from Morse code into English, I guess. And he's said to be the first American to receive news of Stalin's death. Like I said, this is some Gump type shit. Brother gets cut in half by a saw, and he's the first American to learn of Joseph Stalin's death, or to like receive news from the Soviet Union about it. I don't know, something about something like that. But anyway, while in Landsberg, West Germany, he started his first band, the Landsberg Barbarians. Um, and during his service, he was obviously in the army and stuff during wartime, and he has a scar on one of his cheeks. I think that it's his right cheek. And he got that from his time in service. He had a cyst removed on his cheek. So yeah, that was I tried to set that up like a joke. Like I was gonna be like, let me subvert your expectations real quick, and it wasn't good. But hey, fuck it, we all like I said, it's the early days. Anybody listening to this? This is just practice. You know what I mean? We're just having fun. He returned from war eventually and married Vivian Liberto in 1954. Um, Now we're going to talk about his music career. This is a lot of shit. After this is the lightning round. Just so you guys know. If you're big Johnny Cash fans, we'll probably have like another 15 minutes talking, something like that. And then it'll be the lightning round. I promise. It's not going to go on much longer. If you're not a Johnny Cash fan, if you are, enjoy the ride. Anyway, and you probably already know all this, but whatever. We ball. He moved to Memphis, Tennessee to pursue his music career. He's an artist, He's willing to do whatever it takes to be successful in his field, even if he's got to move to Memphis right away. He's like me. I mean, most of you guys want to understand this because you're not artists. You don't, express yourself creatively like I do. No, I don't know. When I was writing that, I was like trying to make a joke about how like I'm the Johnny Cash of podcast. I kind of am. I kind of am the Johnny Cash of podcasters. I grew up in a rural area. I grew up for like 5 years in a rural area. I grew up mostly in the suburbs, but we'll count it. I wear all black all the time. I do it for the same reason Johnny Cash does as well. Figure out. How else am I similar to Johnny Cash? My brother never got cut in half by a table saw. He did get bit by a turtle one time, and he cried, or he almost cried. And I'm in front of him forever for that. Because guess what? I got bit by a turtle too. A turtle way bigger than the turtle bit him, and not a tear came out of my eye. But I mean, yeah, I'm basically the Johnny Cash of podcasting. What can I say? That's just how we do it. But anyway, I can't believe I mean, I wrote it down, like to try to make a joke about it. That he's an artist and I'm an artist too, even though like this joke is I'm not, but whatever. And it turned into that me talking about my brother getting bit by a turtle. God, I hope the mic can pick up like my mumbling. I mumble a lot. I need to speak clearer, which is why we're doing those mini episodes. Or hopefully doing them. I might completely fucking ditch the idea because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But I mean, fucking you. Anyone listening to this knows that. But anyway, while Johnny Cash was in Tennessee, he played for a group called the Tennessee Two. Uh, the people's names on Wikipedia were blue, so I imagine they were kind of famous, but I didn't write it down because I was like, I don't really give a shit. But anyway, before he auditioned for a record label, he originally auditioned as a gospel act and was denied, and he came back with a rockabilly style and was signed by Sun Records in 1955. So, I mean, shows how much of a beast he was. Gets back from the military, marries this now 21-year-old Mexican chick, or I imagine she's Mexican, and then less than a year later gets signed to a record deal. So, yeah, Johnny Cash had it. He wasn't some struggling artist. He was struggling in some ways, but not so much in others. But anyway, in December of 1956, Cash, Elvis, Carl Perkins, and Jerry Lee Lewis. I recognize all those names. So, I mean, shout out to Johnny Cash a year into his career. Recorded an impromptu album called Million Dollar Quartet. And this was because they were all signed to the same record label. And so I think it said Elvis showed up and was like, no, I don't like this. I don't like this Johnny Cash kid. Let's record an album together. God, I'm so good. I'm so talented. It like hurts. That was the worst Elvis impression ever. That didn't sound like Elvis. That sounded like a guy with Down syndrome. I mean, which Elvis kind of was. The guy was not, the most elegantly intelligent individual of all time. You know what I mean? He wasn't putting shit together in his mind. He wasn't Goodwill Hunting. But anyway, and he released his first album in 1955, which had these songs: "I Walk the Line." Everyone point at the screen or point at your phone or whatever. I said the title. I said the Folsom Prison Blues and "Cry Cry Cry" on it, which are like three of his most famous songs, and that's on his first album, dude. Cash was putting out bangers, and they were also like, Johnny Cash is obviously like a musical genius and all that, but not all of his albums were super popular, especially the ones in like I think like the 80s, like late 70s to like mid 80s, because they were like kind of experimental, and even his experimental ones were still pretty popular. But anyway, he ended up signing with Columbia Records in 1958, but he left a bunch of unreleased songs at Sun Records, and so Sun Records kept releasing Johnny Cash songs until 1954 or 1964, because they had the rights to those songs. Which, I mean, yeah. So it's pretty unique, I guess, to have your songs be released by two different labels at the same time. Not the same songs, but it'd be weird to get two Johnny Cash albums on the same day. But that's how it went back then. And this was back in the day, dude. Those record labels were fucking these dudes over. I mean, for real. They were like, I'm not going to do the accent of the people who own the record labels, but we all know who it is. That's a joke, all right? If someone from my school is listening to this, if like the fucking dean or whatever, if some Poindexter sends the dean this podcast being like, he said something anti-Semitic. That was a joke, all right? Can you even get in trouble for anti-Semitic nowadays? I feel like with the whole Palestine-Israel thing, especially at like a liberal arts college, you can't really get in trouble for it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's like talking shit about like the KKK or whatever to these people. Like, they don't give a fuck. Anyway, astute observation there by me. I'm basically Tim Dillon. But anyway, yeah, so he was probably fucked over by all these record deals and stuff. But anyway, it said he wore black clothes because they were easier to keep looking clean. So, like I said, me and Johnny Cash wear black clothes for the same reason. I wear them because I eat a lot of spaghetti, and I don't want to spill. I don't want to, get a bunch of spaghetti sauce stains on a white shirt. Yeah, I was trying to think of a joke there, and I couldn't. I eat spaghetti like a fucking toddler, dude. I swear to God, I come up from my face looking like a zombie in The Walking Dead, just covered in noodles and spaghetti sauce and shit. But anyway, we're not talking about spaghetti. God damn. All right. So that's why he wore black clothes. All right. He puts on this act and all this stuff, and that's kind of what makes him a great artist. Being able to put on an act and truly believe he is that person. But no, he just kind of originally wore them because they were easy to keep looking clean, and it just became part of his personality and stuff like that. Same with like the prison stuff. You know what I mean? Guy got arrested like a couple times for like misdemeanors, and they always let him go, which is funny. It's funny because it said that Johnny Cash always had, like sympathy for the little man and shit, but like he got famous when he was like 22 and became extremely successful and kind of coasted from there. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. Obviously, he deserves it. He had a shitty life up until then, but still, I mean, if you get that rich at 22, like he probably did, it makes it kind of hard to empathize with the little man. I mean, I'm sure he tried. I'm sure he was a fine guy, but let's be honest here. Cash was Cash was living the good life. He got off on all his crimes easier because he was rich. He offered to pay the cops and shit to get off on his crimes. So I mean, yeah, that's Cash. But who wouldn't if they had the money? But anyway, he became addicted to alcohol, barbiturates, which are like sedatives and stuff, and amphetamines. But he still put out bangers. All right, this guy was like Young Lane or whatever, Mac Miller, fucking just faded off the Xannies, but still putting out heat. All right, this is when he put out Ring of Fire, which he said came to him in a dream. And apparently that was a big deal because it was like a crossover hit between like mariachi and like country western. So, which are kind of the same things if you think about it. It's just Mexican cowboys versus American cowboys. So, yeah. During this time where he was addicted to drugs and alcohol, he burned 508 acres that drove away 49 critically endangered condors, and he didn't care and was ordered to pay $82,001. So, yeah, as we'll talk about later, Johnny Cash was like a major advocate for Indians, like Native Americans and stuff, and just completely like shitting on their culture, our culture. All right. I know I may be white, but it's our culture. I am technically in the tribe. You know what I mean? So that's how we do it. But just completely shitting on the culture in that way of like disregarding nature and stuff. He said the fire was started by the exhaust on his RV. Not true. I mean, the guy was fucking faded and he dropped a cigarette or whatever. But he's still, not to this day, obviously, rest in peace, but you know, he he defended his position that it was started by the truck for his whole life. Which I mean, if you're and he knew he was gonna die when he died, so it's like why not be honest and be like, yeah, I started that fire. Don't tell anyone. Shh. Don't tell anyone until after I die. But anyway, he never served a prison sentence and was only arrested a couple times for misdemeanors. Like I said, mostly. God damn it. All right. Headset died. Like I said, it's probably going to die 3 times this episode because it's a long ass episode, but that's unimportant. Um, yeah, he was only arrested a few times for misdemeanors, mostly things regarding drugs. Because he was a fucking addict. But yeah, so that's kind of the end of that. He released a series of albums and songs during the 1960s, many of an experimental nature. Um, I think we'll talk about later. He had a spoken word album, but if I don't, he did, and that one was fairly popular, but they didn't play it on the radios. But it was like fairly popular among the fans and stuff. Um, but he was arrested in 1967 in Lafayette, Georgia, and had a talk with a cop that he claimed turned his life around. He did end up relapsing a couple times, but nothing major. Nobody's perfect. Every once in a while you gotta do some, what's it, Benny's benzoate, whatever that stuff's called, Benzodrine. That's what it is. That was kind of like meth or like Adderall or Ritalin of the 1960s, and that's probably what he was taking when it said uh, amphetamines, uppers, hardcore. All right, so yeah, that was a lot about Johnny Cash. He was a gump, though. You have to admit that, like, pretty much everything I said was interesting enough. Recorded an impromptu album with Elvis. Heard about Stalin's death before anyone else. Fucking brother got cut in half by a saw. Almost killed a bunch of critically endangered condors. Yeah, guy was gumping it up. He also lived with Waylon Jennings, I think. It was Waylon Jennings or Chris Christopherson when he was on those drugs and alcohol and stuff. He lived with him in Nashville, Tennessee. All right. Anyway, lightning round. It's not gonna be like a super fast lightning round because, as you know, I like to ramble. But uh, anyway, he did a series of prison concerts and recorded live albums there. If you're a Johnny Cash fan, you know that. If you're not, get your head in the game, brother. Johnny Cash, the greatest of all time. He's kind of like Elvis. Like old people just like worship him. I wonder who our generation's Johnny Cash will be, or Elvis, or whoever. I'm trying to think. It's probably gonna end up being like Taylor Swift or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you listen to Elvis. A lot of people are gonna get pissed off by me saying this. Elvis's music, it's Swift esque. I'll say a lot of it sounds the exact same. The lyrics are wildly uncomplicated. He's an alright singer, but he just has like this cult of. I'm not shitting on Taylor Swift or Elvis here. All right, get the bag. You know what I mean? I'm just saying they were both scooped up early, and both their music is like Fruit Loops. You know what I mean? Like Fruit Loops don't taste like fruit. They don't really taste like anything natural, right? It's like created in a lab to be as appealing as possible to as many people as possible. That's what Taylor Swift and Elvis sound like to me. Not so much Johnny Cash, but yeah, I think Taylor Swift's probably going to end up being the Elvis of our generation. Calling it right now. To everyone listening to this in 2096, if I'm right, you owe me 1 billion credits or whatever money we're using at that time. Or maybe the world gets destroyed, in which case, I hope this is the last evidence that humanity ever existed, is this episode of a podcast. I hope, aliens find our dead world, our desecrated world from nuclear war, and they somewhere, in the Spotify offices or in the Riverside offices, there's like a hard drive that somehow survived the nukes, and it has this episode on it. That's my dream for this podcast. To have aliens think every human being was retarded. No. Anyway, so he was an activist for Native Americans and released a spoken word album in 1964 about where to went over this. It was kind of popular, but the radio didn't like it because it was kind of dark and it probably sounded like some nerd shit. You know what I mean? Like some shit. No one's trying to hear that on their way home from the office. They're not trying to hear like about how the government came in and killed all the Indians. You know what I mean? They're trying to go home, crack a couple beers, and go the fuck to sleep. So that does kind of show that Johnny Cash was out of touch with the working man, dude. The working man is not trying to hear all that. The working man just got off a shift at the dog food factory and is gonna have to go home and eat meatloaf and listen to their two fucking annoying kids whine about shit that they don't care about. You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck about the plight of the Indians. But anyway, I think he had a couple shows, but his most famous, this was the Johnny Cash show, the one that I'm going to talk about. He had it from 1969 to 1971, and it boosted the careers of a lot of people, but the two most famous are Bob Dylan and Chris Christopherson. So it must have been Waylon Jennings that he lived in that apartment with when he was doing those drugs. But anyway, he was part of the 3 Highwaymen albums that were released from 1985 to 1995. If you haven't listened to these bad boys, I don't know. I don't know if there's not a lot of music better than the song Highwayman. I drove a starship across the universe divide. Pistol by my side. The banger. All right, I'm not doing it justice. I sound like a Muppet right now. I sound like Beaker the Muppet when I try to sing. But these are bangers, all right? I haven't listened to a lot of songs besides that one, but that one is probably one of the best songs ever. I'll say. All right. He was diagnosed with something called Shy Drager syndrome he had a couple like misdiagnoses and whatever, but eventually he was diagnosed with Shy-Drager syndrome, which is a neurodegenerative disease in 1997 while in New York. He was told he had 18 months to live after that. And that was in 1997, and he died in 2003, not even because of it, because of diabetes. Which, I mean, I was looking at pictures. I guess he got a little bit chubby, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was just eating so much sugar that it gave him diabetes without him getting fat. But anyway, that's kind of a rundown on the life of Johnny Cash. We had to end with the lightning round. I wish we didn't have to, but I think we got the major points across. You know what I mean? About his career. Not about the gumpishness of his life, but about his career. Um, yeah, Johnny Cash. Seems like a decent enough dude. Um, yeah. Yeah, that's all I got. I was trying to think of something to say about Johnny Cash. Um, kind of white trash dude. Ended up having a banger of a career. Got addicted to drugs a few times, but nobody's perfect. Made the probably one of the best songs of all time. Not just the Highwaymen, but Hurt. His cover of Hurt by 9 Inch Nails. I'd say that's top 5 songs all time. And you can't say I'm wrong. So suck my dick. Obviously, I'm right. I know all the best songs. Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker. Hurt by Johnny Cash. Ginseng Strip 2002 by Young Lean, which might be the topic of the mini episode, if I have time. Because this week I'm not going to be able to record the regular episode like I do on Sundays. Or I could, but I'm going to be home, so I don't want to do that. So I'll probably record. I can't do it on Monday. I'll see if I can record the mini episode on Tuesday and then do the regular one on like Thursday or maybe Friday. I might have time on Friday to do it. I'm just kind of talking out loud here, getting better at following my stream of consciousness and just talking instead of pausing to think and stuff, because that doesn't make for good listening. No one wants to listen to that. I need to become funnier in my stream of consciousness. My stream of consciousness is just like everyone else's. It's really boring. It's like, what do I have to do today? All right, I got to do this, this, and this. Maybe I need to do a bunch of shrooms so I can. Maybe I need to completely destroy my mind, build it from the ground up so that I can be funny. All right, so that I can have a mediocre podcast that no one listens to. I need to have a full schizophrenic breakdown on mushrooms so that I can talk about Johnny Cash's life better. I just need to take better notes. That's really it. And maybe you know what I mean? Do more parentheses where I think like jokes or like I can make a joke about that. I did that a little bit on this one. Ended up horribly, but you know what I mean? It's not going to be perfect. But anyway, let's talk about Joaquin Phoenix. What you guys know about Joaquin? He was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico in 1974 to parents John and Arlen Bottom. Both white. One of them is more than white. One of them's Jewish. So if you were like, why does this white guy have the name Joaquin? We'll talk about that. But yeah, he's more than white. He's like 150% white because his mom was Jewish. Everyone knows Jews are like the ultimate white. You know what I mean? I've heard them be called the white man's white man. However, or it's like the thing that like white people like destroyed the world or whatever. Which that's not the most incorrect statement I've ever heard. It's not the most correct either. You know what I mean? The truth's in there somewhere. White people did fuck shit up, but you know how and everyone will be like, "Oh, it's white people's fault that this, and this happened." That's what the Jews are to white people. So they're the white man's a white man. Like everyone's like, "Fucking tornado happened. It's the goddamn Jews' fault." God, that's gonna be taken out of context. I guarantee it's gonna be hilarious. It's me blaming the tornadoes on Jews, which no, they don't control the weather. If anyone controls the weather, it's the fucking Arabs, the Saudis, dude. Don't they do that shit where they like release whatever it's called, silver nitrate, into the sky and it causes like a cloud or rain or whatever? God, I cannot do any more science episodes after hearing myself explain. It causes a cloud. That's nonsense. That's that's the most incorrect thing ever said. Or it's not the most incorrect. It's the most stupidly put thing ever said. It causes a cloud. But anyway, so even though he was born in Puerto Rico and his name is Joaquin, fully 150% white, in case you were wondering, he was born into a cult known as the Children of God, uh, where his parents worked as missionaries in the Caribbean and South America. Um, his family left. I think he was the second born. I think his older brother Phoenix, or not Phoenix, River, was the oldest, and all his siblings besides him have names like River, Rain, Water, shit like that. Or not just like water related names, but like nature names. But his family left the cult in 1977 due to weird sex shit. Yeah, so basically the cult was trying to recruit people. If you can hear my chair, I'm sorry. This isn't a professional setup. But the cult was trying to recruit people. They would use the female members to like flirt with the dudes and maybe bang them to get them to join the cult. Yeah, it was called flirty fishing or something like that. But yeah, that's why they left the cult. I don't really know shit about the cult. Maybe I'll look it up real quick. I'll talk while looking it up. So this is going to be disastrous. Every word that comes out of my mouth is going to be complete nonsense while I look this up. It's also called the Family International. It was founded by David Berg. Like I said, the white man's white name. All right, no. You guys got to understand, I'm a jokester. You know what I mean? I like to make fun jokes. All right. Um, but yeah, tens of thousands of members. Rose McGowan, don't know who that is. Jeremy Spencer, don't know who that is. All right. Oh, okay. So it kind of sounds like they're Seventh Day Adventists. Um, yeah, it's kind of like every cult. You know what I mean? They believe in an impending apocalypse, or every Christian cult, or cult that is derived from Christianity. Um, Maybe we'll do a special cult episode sometime. I'm trying to think of a time we can do that. Um, but anyway, his parents left the cult eventually, and they changed their name from Bottom to Phoenix when they settled in Florida to symbolize a new beginning. So yeah, when you look at Joaquin Phoenix, and if you watch the interviews, which are funny as hell, by the way, the guy's funny as shit. Then you're like, oh, he's crazy. His family was just as crazy. They were members of a cult, and they changed their last name to Phoenix to represent them rising from the ashes or something. You didn't rise from the ashes. You created a problem for yourself and then realized you created a problem and then you solve the problem. That's not rising from, that's just everybody's life ever. You know what I mean? You didn't, it's not like some great war came and oppressed you and you came out stronger. No, you joined a cult and then you unjoined the cult because this guy wanted to bang your wife. That was it for you. By the way, I can guarantee you this dude would have stayed in if it wasn't for the wife thing. So anyway, as crazy as Joaquin Phoenix is, that explains why his family is crazy. And you might know he's vegan if you've seen his Oscar speech, which I'll maybe talk about in a second or in a minute. But it's hilarious. Anyway, his family saw a fish being stunned when Joaquin was 3, causing the whole family to become vegan. I don't know how that makes it. What do you think happened? You know what I mean? If you don't know, stunning a fish is when you like hit it on the head with a stick, or I think in this example they were banging it against the side of a boat to kill it, basically, so you can gut it and take the fillets off and all that. They saw that, and it's like it just kind of reveals how retarded a lot of people are. That like it's. Did you think the death of the fish was like some fun thing that the fish voluntarily participated in? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, of course it's violent. It's death. Even like the death of like a plant, not like picking a fruit, but like cutting down a tree. That's like a violent thing. You use a big loud machine to cut down a tree. It's death. It's gonna be violent. I don't know. they also joined a cult, so they're clearly not the brightest of people. I'm not saying anything about Joaquin or his siblings. They all seem like they honestly turned out all right. Um, Given the circumstances, it could have been a lot worse. But um, yeah, his parents were fucking insane, dude. Making a 3-year-old go vegan. You know what I mean? This is crazy. Anyway, he went by the name Leaf until he was 15 due to his love of nature, and also the fact that all his siblings had names like that. So it was Leaf Phoenix. The guy's a little, but he's such a good fucking actor. You know what I mean? It's like we let actors get away with like far worse shit. You know, so if the guy wants to call himself Leaf, as long as he keeps putting out shit like Her in the first Joker, not the second one. I heard the second one was a stinker, dude. I mean, just an absolute shit on a fucking plate. But anyway, um, if he wants to go by Leaf, let him go by Leaf. You know what I mean? Not if every movie's going to be as bad as Joker 2 allegedly is. If he's going to do that, you got to be Joaquin. But if you're putting out, you know what I mean? Joker, Her, Walk the Line, shit like that, you can go by Leaf. I'll give you that one. Leaf. Only his friends call him Leaf, dude. Like me. Alright, anyway. He made his acting debut in 1982 on the musical TV show Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. So, like I said, his family was kind of fucking crazy. His parents obviously weren't the best parents. You know what I mean? I'm not passing any judgment. What's done is done. But let's be fucking honest here. You joined a cult and then you just made your whole family go vegan, right? And then you made your kids. They didn't make their kids start acting, but they moved to Hollywood because the dad had a back injury and he couldn't work anymore or something. And so they like depended on the kids for money. Not the greatest parenting of all time. I don't think that's controversial to say. I did feel weird writing about this because this is like a guy who's still alive and all that, and like his brother passed away and stuff, and so I like felt weird like writing about it, you know, like. But then I was like, as I was writing about it, I was like, I don't know. I did the Rhodesian Bush War, and like 50,000 people died as a result of that thing. So I don't know. If I get like a couple facts wrong about Joaquin Phoenix's life, it's not the end of the fucking world. You know what I mean? And I last week, what did I do? I like summed up an entire like multiple cultures into a 45-minute episode. So I kind of felt weird about it for a second, and then I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't the most insane, controversial thing I've talked about. There's bigger shit going on. But anyway, he acted in movies and as a guest star on multiple TV shows until 1993 when his older brother River passed away of a drug overdose. So yeah, he passed away when Joaquin was how old? 20, or wait, no, 19. Yeah, so Walk was young when his brother passed away. I don't know. There's not really a whole lot to say about that other than it kind of made him quit acting for a year, though. I feel like a year, you know, acting is just such a weird thing and it like affects you mentally so much, just like being famous probably does. Like having a bunch of people praise you is just that's not how people are supposed to live. So I can, that's fair enough. But anyway, his family moved to Costa Rica and Phoenix took a year off acting. I wrote oops because I keep writing Phoenix when I'm kind of talking about his life, and it's like he spent a lot of time with his family and stuff, obviously. So they're all Phoenix. So, but I guess in this case it kind of makes sense because the whole Phoenix family went to Costa Rica just to kind of get away from it all. Which I mean, fair enough if you get the money for it. But he's mostly done movies since then. I don't think he's been on a TV show. He might have, but I think it's all movies since then. And we're gonna point out some of the major ones. So he starred in a satirical movie called Buffalo Soldiers about the military, which premiered at film festivals and stuff 3 days before 9/11. So I think I don't really know too much how movies work, but it seems like it premieres at film festivals and like people that are insiders or like people that know somebody getting in and get to watch the movies release early and then they release in theaters. So this premiered at film festivals 3 days before 9/11, and it was like making fun of the military or whatever. Um, and probably our involvement in the Middle East, which is why they had to delay the release by 2 years. Um, anyway, he's been putting up pretty good movies since then, besides the Joker 2, or from at least what I've heard about the Joker 2. Let's see. I mean, I already mentioned all the good ones. I'm trying to. Why did I look up Walk the Line instead of Joaquin Phoenix? Anyway, let's look at his movies. Her, banger. Oh fuck, I forgot he's in Gladiator. Gladiator. I heard Napoleon's not great. Beau is Afraid. If you've seen that one, it's funny, I guess, but it's not great. Brother Bear. That's a fucking classic from when I was a kid. Reservation or you know what I mean? He's been putting out pretty solid movies. Um, since then. Parenthood. Oh, it's a movie from when he was a kid. Yeah, so he's a kind of a child actor, which also explains why he's so weird. You know what I mean? But anyway, um, yeah, he's critically acclaimed and won an Oscar for Best Actor for his role in Joker 2019. This acceptance speech for this is hilarious. He just talks about milk for like 5 minutes, like he's vegan and stuff. And so he's just rambling about milk. He's like, and the mother is ripped away from its child, and that's how we get milk. It's very funny. Look, Joaquin, if you're listening to this, and I know that you are, that was a joke. Be vegan or whatever, but I feel like that's objectively funny to win an Oscar. And he didn't think he might have thanked his family and thanked his God or whatever. But just talking about milk for 5 minutes is, I mean, the guy's hilarious. I don't know if Joaquin, I feel like that's really probably one of his only moral positions too, because he's an actor. You know what I mean? He doesn't. He's a really good actor, which means he doesn't know who he is. He gets like lost in the roles and stuff. So I think Joaquin Phoenix's only personal identifier that he can 100% say is true about himself is that he's a vegan, which is probably why he talked about it. Now I'm saying it, it's kind of sad. It's like this guy lost a lot of shit in his life and grew up in kind of a shit life. And he probably, like, acting is an escape for him. But, acting also, like, kind of deconstructed who he is as a person, and now he doesn't really know, besides veganism. Anyway, if you ignore his very, like, kind of weird, sad life, it's hilarious. He just talked about milk for 5 minutes. All right. So he has been, like, addicted to drugs and stuff in the past, and it caused him to get into a car wreck in 2006, and he was saved by Werner Herzog, who, like, broke a fucking window to save his life. Herzog seems like the fucking man, I'm gonna say. Herzog was also the name of one of the refs last night at the UFC, and I was laughing about that. Like Werner Herzog reffing a UFC match, just, hey, now break. No, don't fight, alright. You know the rules now, touch gloves. Break. The winner by unanimous. I can't do a Werner Herzog. You guys know what he sounds like. He's like a weird German guy with like a raspy. I am German. I am German. No, I can't do it. I kind of had it there for a second at first. You got to give me that. You got to give me I had it at first. But anyway, yeah, got his life saved by Werner Herzog. Which, I mean, I don't know if that's the voice you want to hear when you're bleeding from your fucking head in your car or whatever. Is Werner Herzog's kind of not creepy, but like unearthly, maybe is the way to put it. Unusual voice. But anyway, I'm gonna say I kind of had a banger with this one. I was like trying to think of how I'd end it because he's still alive. Like I usually end it with like the death of the person or whatever, or like I don't know. But with this one, I wrote, Phoenix is an unusual person, but an undeniable actor. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it doesn't sound as cool, but you know, when you're doing this and you're kind of thinking of stuff from scratch, God dang, you know what I mean? And it's just you. It's like kind of hard to think of shit, especially when like I had just been writing for like 45 minutes before this. So I'd say that's pretty decent. All right, fuck you. I know you're talking shit about me right now, dickhead. Yeah, I must sound schizophrenic right now. Just if anyone is somehow listening to this, like the people that live above me or whatever. But anyway, okay, so we're going to talk about Phoenix's acting style since he's like obviously one of the best of all time. So he has been described as a tortured artist, and I wrote fair next to that. And most of the time, when you hear about tortured artists, you're like, shut the fuck up, you fucking dweeb, dude. You're not a tortured. Your life was fine. All right. Yeah, you might have like depression or like borderline personality, but you're fine. All right. You're not tortured. You're just kind of being a bitch. Not that I'm saying borderline personality disorder makes you a bitch, but like, I don't know. When I hear tortured artists, I want to hear about like a motherfucker that like living on the streets. You know what I mean? Like some Doofenshmirtz type shit. Like neither of his parents showed up for his birth. You know what I mean? That's what I want to hear when I hear the word, and when I hear the phrase tortured artist. Like I had to eat trash until I was 24 years old. That's what I want to hear. But yeah, Joaquin Phoenix did kind of have a shitty life, so I gave him that one. I was like, all right, fair enough. Um, he's a true chameleon of an actor that fills the mold of whatever role he takes. You can kind of tell I was tired when I was writing because that's not the best way of putting it, and I also wrote the same thing two different times or two different ways. But he immerses himself in his characters and prepares extensively. So yeah, like I said, Joaquin Phoenix really doesn't know who he is because he's just that good of an actor. But anyway, in 2010, Phoenix starred in I'm Still Here, a mockumentary about him quitting acting to become a rapper. And he stayed in character for all his interviews. I'll probably link the Letterman interview in the description of this episode. It's so funny. And a lot of Joaquin Phoenix's interviews are like this, where he does, it's like the same bit, but he's such a good actor that it's funny every time, where it's like someone says like clearly a joke and you like take it seriously. And it's really the only bit he does. I mean, he does a couple other like funny things, but like he's such a good actor that it's like always a hilarious bit. I wonder. All right, you guys gotta let me know if someone's listening this far into the episode. Let me know how shitty the audio quality is right now, because my headset just died, but I think it was using the speaker from my computer. So I didn't stop the recording. I just turned my headset back on. So let me know what it sounds like. Um, because maybe I'll just do that. Because if it's not that bad, I mean, if it's awful, I'll obviously stop the recording and start it again. But I don't want to have to do that every time. I need to get a better mic. I gotta get a job, dude. Can't get a job till summer though, because I'm just lazy as shit. And if I have a job, I'll get all F's in school. So I'm just lazy like that. But anyway, um, when I looked up this movie, I was looking for clips because I was like, this shit's probably hilarious. Like Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor. I don't know who wrote it. Maybe I can look it up or directed it or whatever. Um, but a Joaquin Phoenix in like a comedy type thing. Yeah, Casey Affleck, that fucking freak. That shit was probably. I mean, this movie's probably hilarious. You know what I mean? Yeah, Casey Affleck, Joaquin Phoenix, just a couple of weird, fucking depressed freaks making a comedy movie. It's probably great, but when you go to look at the movie on YouTube, one of the first clips is Diddy. You know what I mean? Phoenix, brother, please tell me you did not go to the party. It would be really funny if part of the movie was Phoenix going to the party. Because I feel like I don't know. I just hope Phoenix wasn't at the Diddy party. From what I've heard about Joker 2, some Diddy party shit went down in Joker 2. But anyway, uh, the interview is hilarious, and Phoenix, great actor. Phoenix says he is drawn to complex characters more than anything else. Um, and directors say you kind of just have to let him do his own thing, which I feel like can turn out really good because he's an amazing actor, but also really bad because he's kind of not a retarded guy, but you know what I mean. He's got an unusual mind, so it can turn out bad. And sometimes like the environment the director creates, or like the producers or whoever. I don't really know how movies work, but sometimes the environment isn't conducive to like him running free and making like a good thing. That I'm burping my fucking ass off. I'd say like probably Napoleon's a good example of this. That like they kind of let him run free, and it's like Joaquin Phoenix. It might have been like a good acting performance and like a good character, but like it's not historically accurate to Napoleon, is what I've heard, and that's probably because the director let him run free. Only maybe should have tightened the leash a little bit. Yeah, I'm criticizing a guy that probably won a fucking Oscar or something. Like I said, I'm an artist, all right? No. Um. Anyway, so yeah, God, I sound autistic as shit right now. But that's enough about Joaquin Phoenix's acting style. We're almost done, guys. I promise. Class is almost over. You guys can go to recess after this. I know I'm gonna go take a shower and then eat breakfast. I'm gonna eat fucking hash browns, dude. Oh my god, hash browns. Ooh, what do you think they'll have? Do you think they'll have sausage at the dining hall? I hope so. All right. Let's go. Let's get it. We're finally gonna talk about Walk the Line. There's not really much to talk about. I'm gonna be honest, because I'm not doing a plot synopsis. I just talked about Johnny Cash's Gump type life. But anyway. So it follows the life story of Johnny Cash from childhood. It seems to like the mid 70s. Um and it was released in 2005. So you're like, how did Johnny Cash know he We'll talk about it anyway. So, oh yeah, we're going to talk about it right now. So Johnny Cash asked producer uh, James Keach to make a movie about his life in the 1990s. And I think it said they finished writing the script. Let's see if I have it written down. Whatever. I don't have it written down, but it was like 2001, I think. So 2 years before Johnny Cash died, the two people. Keach didn't write the script. I guess he was just like a producer. I don't know how movies work. So I guess Cash told him he wanted a movie made, and then Keach like set everything up. I think that's what a producer does. But anyway, it's based on the screenplay is written on, or it's based on. Goddamn, you can tell I'm tired. I was watching Poetan knock that dude out. It took everything out of me. Did I Jackson Pollock the inside of my pants? No. Was I close? Yeah, dude. It's fucking Alex Pereira. Guy's a beast. I don't know shit about the UFC. I literally only know like the biggest names in the UFC. Also, if you watch that one, dude, UFC 307, Kayla Harrison, Dana, dude, USADA or whoever does the piss testing needs to step their game. That woman is clearly juiced out of her goddamn mind. What are we doing here, guys? She threw that other chick around like a Mack truck. She looks like a caveman, dude. She looks like Australopithecus. You know what I mean? Or like a Neanderthal. Thick ass brow ridge, dude. Big ass nose. Looking like Joaquin Phoenix. No. Jokes, guys. No one remembers that part. I guarantee you. Anyway. Yeah, so it was based off two biographies, Man in Black and Cash, the autobiography. Which, I mean, if anyone deserves to write an autobiography, I'll give it to Cash. Lived a very gump-esque life. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's a really talented person. And I think he tried to write a book at one point, and I think it was pretty decent. He might have even put it out, like a novel, not like a biography. But anyway, enough about that. I'm gonna keep talking about the book or the. Goddamn, I'm tired. The movie. So all the vocal tracks were done by Joaquin Phoenix. That kind of sounds like nonsense to me, but now that I'm saying it, maybe it's not. Or it sounded like nonsense when I read it. When I wrote it, and I'm just tired. Then I'm tired now. But anyway, so yeah, Joaquin Phoenix did all the singing, so he's obviously talented as fuck. It was the highest grossing music biopic or biopic. I don't know what the right way to say this. I say biopic just because that sounds like a more complete word. Like biopic sounds like two different words. Biopic sounds like one. So I say biopic. So it's the highest grossing biopic until Straight Outta Compton came out in 2015. Cash approved of Phoenix to play himself. Um, yeah. So that's enough about the movie. And I ended it. My last thing. I was trying to think of a way to like end this episode. I think this is a decent way to end it. But Joaquin Phoenix interviews are hilarious. Is he joking? With the one with David Letterman, where he did the "I'm Still Here" movie about him becoming a rapper, it's pretty obvious he's joking. But he does that in like all his interviews, where he just goes like, someone will be like, "You look like you put on a couple pounds after Joker came out," and he'd be like, "Why would you say that, dude? Like, why are you criticizing my body?" And it's so fucking funny. Like that, I think is like a joke, but sometimes it's hard to tell. Fucking absurdly good actor. So yeah, that's enough about this episode, dude. I sucked Joaquin Phoenix's dick. I kind of sucked Johnny Cash's dick. Also disrespected him a little. No disrespect to Johnny Cash. I'm just critiques. I think I made some fair critiques about the man, but also he's more talented than I'll ever be. Um, so who am I to talk? I don't know. I'm I'm the guy that talks. I'm the guy that sits in the ivory tower and pontificates about completely useless shit, about shit that doesn't apply to anyone else's life. But anyway, yeah, that's all I had for this episode. I think it's a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's nearly an hour, maybe no more than an hour, like an hour 15. God dang. Um, a lot of rambling in this one. I think the rambling is getting better though. I feel like my stream of consciousness, it's maybe not funnier, but it's becoming more clear. Like I can just kind of talk and not take a bunch of pause breaks and stuff and go, even though I took a tiny break in that one. You got to give it to me. You know what I mean? So I think the rambling wasn't too bad. I think it was a decent topic. Um, I'm just kind of talking to no one right now. I guess maybe talking to my future self. Maybe I'll listen back on these and be like, take some notes or whatever. I don't know. I definitely won't do that. I can't listen to myself talk. Every time I listen to myself talk, I'm like, that's what I sound like. Especially now when like my voice is like kind of starting to get tired and stuff. But anyway, yeah. Look out for the mini episode. Might happen, might not. I'm gonna try not to make excuses. I'm not really too busy this week. I have a math test Monday, but the rest of the week, oh fuck, I did have some shit for a research project, but that I'll be able to do a page of notes. But yeah, we're probably gonna end up doing the Gaelic Wars for the main episode, and then for the mini episode, I'll probably do one about cloud rap, just because I've been listening and I really like it. Um, if you have any recommendations of songs that have kind of like ethereal, like angelic beats with like vocals and stuff, like Ginseng Strip or like I'm God by Lil B. If you have any songs that you think sound like that, send them my way. Even though no one's listening to this, that would have songs like that. I guess in the future, I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude. I'm just kind of rambling, following my stream of thought, which is nonsense. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening. Um, I'll post these notes on the Instagram. I'm sorry about the lack of pictures in the notes. That doesn't really give anyone an incentive to go to the Instagram. But next week we'll probably have next week. For me, I'm gonna do it this week, but it'll be released next Sunday. It'll probably have a fair amount of like diagrams and pictures and stuff in it because it's about a war. Um, yeah, so Gaelic Wars for the main episode, or Gaelic, however you say it, and then Cloud Rap for the mini episode. Um, yeah, I think that's all I got to say. Thanks for listening. Uh, go watch some Joaquin Phoenix interviews and have a good time. All right, let's go.